to get started, our agenda today is going to be about, creating a new project, inserting text, shapes, uploads, aligning, sizing, and spacing your designs, understanding, cutting, scoring, drawing, working with layers, preparing your design for cutting. And obviously that's all written there on the side of the screen. So what I'm really going to do is I'm going to have Design Space up in a moment, and we're going to kind of go around the whole screen looking at all the different toolbars and how a lot of those functions work with examples. So again, if I get too far ahead or if I jump over something, feel free to ask in the comments. Hello to Detroit, Tennessee. Thank you guys for joining. I also have my little cheat sheet just to try to make sure I don't forget anything. But again, ask questions along the way. I'll try to catch them. My husband's sitting across from me. He'll try to catch them as well. He's the one typing for us. So we have that. Hello in Orlando, Florida. All right. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. It's 3 after. So hopefully those that wanted to join us have joined. And I'm going to flip my screen here so you guys will be seeing myself in the bottom and then Design Space. Just a moment to get that set up. All right. Hi, guys. So you can see my Cricut Design Space. I'm actually going to go back a screen to the home screen. So we'll start from home. All right. So when you're on your home screen, and I'm not going to go over every final detail again. This is basic navigation. So the first main area under the advertisements from Cricut is going to be my projects. These are things that I've created and saved on the canvases. There's an arrow on the right where you can arrow through what you have. You can click View All. That'll open to all of your projects. Let's go back to Home. Under My Projects are Cricut Access projects. You can either subscribe to Cricut Access or you can pay to use them. I'm not subscribed to Cricut Access, so I don't typically use them. I don't like to pay extras, just my personal preference. They also have some ready-to-make projects. Again, these are either subscription or pay per use. And kind of so on from there. They have them grouped in different ways. So really, because I don't have Cricut Access and don't want to pay per use, I'm pretty much focused in the My Projects and New Project. And if you click New Project, you're opening your blank canvas. And this is where we're going to spend our time today. Check in the comments, see if you guys have any questions as we move forward to the canvas. All right, so the templates on the left, I don't use too frequently, but their intention is to just kind of give you a little bit of spacing guidance. So they have, a baseball shirt, and if you put the baseball shirt template on, it's going to put it the basic size of a standard baseball t-shirt so that when you make your design over top of it, you have a sizing idea for that. They have different, there's a search up here on the top right, and if I type shirt, hit enter, there's different types of shirts. So if you were doing like a scoop neck t-shirt, and that one looks more fitted for a woman's form. So you can pick those different shirts, and they will put them on your canvas. They don't cut them, but it's just that trace outline. So there's a front and a back to see how that shirt would look. It actually changed my scaling. So across the top here, the 0, the 4, the 8, the 12, it's actually now scaled to what they believe that shirt size is. So as you make your decal, you can see how it would fit across that shirt. I'm going to, on the lower right, click this little I here to hide that maternity shirt. I'm not actually going to use that. And I'm going to change my scaling back to the default, which is a 100%. Down at the bottom, it's kind of hidden until you get your cursor down there. Then it makes it a little brighter to see. I'm going to hit the plus sign to go back to 100%. All right, so those were templates. Projects are used with Cricut Access. If you click them, you can search all types of projects that Cricut Access has. Again, I do not have a Cricut Access subscription, so they would be pay per use, which I'm not going to be using. I'm more focused on creating our own projects. Images allows you to search, it says 100,000 plus Cricut images. But there's also a link on the left for free this week. And you can see they say free. Again, it says free this week. So while you may be able to use a design with it this week and you save that design, if you open it next week, it may want to charge you to to cut that same design. So keep an eye on those things. They also, let me go back to images. You can also search, it's still in free this week. I'm trying to get out of free this week. All right, back to that first images screen. The search does incorporate your images if you've uploaded images. So I don't know how well it's going to find. Let's see. Okay, so I typed Ellie, that's the name of my cat, and I knew I had things in here that have her name in them. So it does search your own images as well. But typically I actually don't grab them out of here. I'll grab them out of the uploads because that's where I put them, and those are all my designs that I've uploaded. All right. So now we're going to get more kind of into the meat of what I want to show you guys today. So we're going to start with text. I'm going to click text. A dialog box has popped up. It says add text here. I am adding my text here. I'm going to click on the text that is on the canvas, not in the dialog box. I'm just going to kind of drag it upward because I know you guys could not see it. It was underneath myself. I'm going to unselect that just by clicking elsewhere on the canvas. And I'm going to move on. We're going to come back and we're going to manipulate the text. But that is how you add the text, is from the text on the left and typing your text in. We're going to put that aside for a moment. I'm going to click on shapes. These are the basic Cricut shapes. Your square could also be a rectangle. Your circle could be an oval. So you can stretch them in different directions. So just be aware of that as you're thinking about your designs. So let's go ahead and grab a square. So I've clicked square. It's put a square on my canvas. You can use the arrows here to change the size of that square. You can rotate the square. You can unlock the square. What unlock does is, before, when I was changing the size, it was staying a square. Now that I've unlocked it, those dimensions can vary. All your widths and your heights can change. So that's what the unlock does. If I made a rectangle and relocked it, now when I change the size here, it stays as that ratio of width to height with that rectangle. And obviously you can hit the red X and delete the square. I'm going to put the square back. We're going to use it a little later. And then the last part on the left navigation is upload. I'm clicking upload. And for today's class, I'm going to bring in something I've previously uploaded. If you need help uploading, whether it be SVGs or JPEGs or GIFs or PNGs or whatever file type you may be uploading, we do have a separate class we ran last week and we recorded. It is now on YouTube. So we have a class all about everything within how to actually upload and clean up those images. So I would encourage you to watch that. For this class, I am going to hit View All. So this is going to bring me to everything I've previously uploaded. And I'm looking for, it was a design we used in actually that upload class, or that SVG class from last week, which was this Happy Halloween. And I'm going to insert image. So there is that Happy Halloween. Okay. So that is down the left side. I'm going to jump over to the right side. On the right side of the screen are our layers. We have the text that we had brought in, the square we had brought in, and that Happy Halloween image I had brought in from my uploads. If you were just wanting to work with one of these and the others are just in the way, there are these little eye icons, and if you click them, they hide what you have clicked and hidden. So the only one I have left now is my text. You can click them again to unhide. When something is hidden, if I would go to, let's say I hide the text and I hide the Happy Halloween, so all I have left is my square. If I were to click Make It, the square is the only thing that would go onto the Make It canvases and your mats to be cut. So you can have multiple things and variations and hide them, and know that when you go to Make It, only what is unhidden will be included on the mat. Okay, so just gonna check my notes here, make sure I'm not skipping over anything I wanted to tell you guys over there. Okay, so we've talked about hiding. So next is duplicate. I'm going to hide the square and unhide that Happy Halloween. And I'm actually going to make it smaller just so more of it is on the canvas. And I'm going to use up here, but we'll talk more about that later. I don't want to jump there yet. I just want to get that in full sight for you guys. Okay, so Happy Halloween is the only one visible. And at the top, you have group, ungroup, duplicate, and delete. Group and ungroup are currently not selectable because I only have one item here. To make a group, I would need to have at least 2 or 3 or more. So with 2 items, let's say I wanted to kind of envision a background. So let me unlock this square and put it with the Happy Halloween. And I want them to keep together, so as I move them on my screen or as I resize them, I can have one item to move around and they stay together. If I just select both, I can group. They've put them on the right as a group, 2 items in that group. As I move them, they are 1. As I unselect and reselect, they're still 1. So group is handy. And if you decide I need to just work with that rectangle, in order to do so, I would have to ungroup. And now I have just my rectangle to work with. So that is your group and ungroup. I'm going to go ahead and hide the rectangle again. I'm going to select my Happy Halloween. We have a duplicate button. Duplicate does exactly what you think it does. It makes another copy of the same thing you're looking at. Duplicate again and again, as many times as you need to. You can duplicate groups. So if I had them grouped and I had selected duplicate, the Happy Halloween together with the square would have duplicated and been a separate grouped set of those. And then we obviously have a delete button, deleting whatever is currently selected. I'm going to leave 2 copies of this at the moment. So I have an original and a duplicate. It does not matter which one was the original. They're now just 2 parts, 2 layers on the right. Sad face? Why is there a sad face? Let me know if you have a question. Alright, so we've done the top of the right. Let's do the bottom of the right. And the only one currently available is Contour. Contour is a huge tool. Let me click Contour, and then we'll talk about what it is. And it takes a moment to load depending on how detailed the design is. Contour is every part of your image. So our current image has Happy Halloween hollowed out. You can see the canvas behind it. Maybe I don't want it hollowed out. Maybe I want it to be filled. I click contour and I select the inside of the H, let me close contour now, it is now filled. So if I would send this to Cricut to cut, it would have a bold H filled in of the vinyl or paper or whatever material you're going to cut on. Whereas the rest of the letters, the A, P, P, Y, and Halloween, would have the inside of all those letters where you can weed them out and have it written through. If you're going to press vinyl onto a t-shirt, the H would be a solid H. The rest would show the t-shirt through the letters. So let's go to contour again. And let's think about what we want to do next. So let's say I really like this design. I'm going to bring the H back just so it's, you can also click them from the side here. So let me find, there's that H. Okay, so the H is back to normal. I really like this design, but I know I don't have enough space for this top bat. I'm doing it on a much smaller bag or a onesie, and I know I'm just not going to have the space. I want to keep Happy Halloween larger. I don't want to bring that in any smaller, but I'm not going to have the space for that top bat. You can use contour to get rid of him. You just move your mouse until it's the highlighted one, the selected one, and it kind of, when you click it, makes it a little more gray. I also need to get rid of his eyes. So I've hidden the bat. I'm going to close contour. And on this design, we've gotten rid of that top bat. Where on here, on the full design, you can see it's there. With contour, you can bring the bat back. It does stay within the file. It's just grayed. So I can use on the right side. You can click it on the left. Sometimes my mouse is tough to get on the individual parts. So I'll use the right side to select and deselect my items. Look for his eyes. There they are. You can tell because they were the gray shaded squares. Now everything is back to how it was. So contour is a pretty powerful tool. Let me show you another instance of where contour may be helpful. And I'm going to use both images this time. So let's say you plan to cut the bats in black and you want your Happy Halloween in orange. Sorry, just checking comments. Thanks, guys. So let's say you want your Happy Halloween in orange, but you want your bats in black. Now remember, the colors on the screen do not really mean anything when it goes to your Cricut. Your Cricut is just cutting. It doesn't know the color. So the color is whatever, material you put on your mat. But sometimes we kind of color them on our screen to help appease us and make it easier. But right now, if I tried to change the Happy Halloween to orange, my bats changed to orange. So we need to separate the bats from the Happy Halloween. And thankfully here I have 2 copies. So in one, I'm going to contour out Happy Halloween, and in the other, I'm going to contour out my bats. So let me go to contour, and let's get rid of Happy Halloween. Use contour to take an image and cut it into half. I would recommend using slice, which we're going to get into shortly. So stay tuned to hear about slice, and then let me know if that answers your question. So I'm going to start using the right side to get rid of what I know are the letters. So there's a bat, there's a bat, there's a letter, 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 letter. So I'm getting rid of all the letters from this design. It's the center of my O, P, A, yeah, A, P. And as I click them, I'm watching them on the design go gray to make sure I've selected the right thing and don't accidentally grab maybe one of those bat's eyes or something. This is a bad eye. Yep, that is a bad eye. Just checking them. I think that's good. So I'm going to close contour, and all we have left over here are those bats, which we're going to do in black. On the opposite, we're going to contour and we're going to take away those bats. So there's a bat, and there's a bat, those three. And then I'm going to scroll to the bottom because all those eyes were kind of together at the bottom. And I'm watching them disappear off the bats as I click each one to make sure I've selected the right item. Close contour. I can now make this orange, as I know I intend to cut it in orange. And you can bring that into your design. You can select them both and group like we talked about earlier. Or you can ungroup. If I wanted the Happy Halloween portion solid, I think it may look better in this instance. We'll do what we talked about earlier and take away the parts of the Happy Halloween to make those letters whole. Close contour. And it looks like I'm going to need to switch on the inside of the letters that have hollow centers. So the APP and the AO. I'm going to go back to contour. And you can see, and there's a zoom in contour. Let's zoom in. You can see here there's more layers, so I need to flip which ones are visible and which ones aren't. So I'm going to click the center of the A and the next letter of the A. Let's see if that did it. Click back to my canvas. Nope, I lost part of it. So contour again. I need to restore the very center, looks like. If I do that. All right, that A looks much better. So I'm going to do that same thing on those other letters. Again, you know, a lot of times we're just kind of trying and see what looks good to us. Take out those outer parts of those. All right, close contour. There. So now, if I wanted to cut this design and I hit make it, I have the black canvas with the 3 bats, and I've got the orange that'll cut the Happy Halloween. Cancel. Not cutting anything today. So that, in a sense, is contour. So I took a single Happy Halloween that I had gotten from an upload, which, again, I did an SVG class last week. It's on YouTube. And in that class, I actually show how to bring this exact Happy Halloween onto your canvas. But I was able to now break it apart into different colors using contour. All right, let's move on to our other options here. So if I don't have black and orange to cut it on, I can select both of them and I can flatten. It's now, you can see on the layers, flattened, cut, and print. So that is for if you have the printable materials. So you can print it on paper, you can print it on sticker paper, you can print it on printable vinyl. That turns it into a single layer print and cut. It would actually go to my printer and print the design. So it doesn't matter that I don't have orange vinyl. I have paper and ink that I'm going to print it on. And then I'm going to put it into the Cricut to cut it out. And yes, and we're going to address that when we start talking about attach. I'll explain that about whether you're wasting paper or you're kind of keeping your design and placement. Totally up to you. But yes, so if you were concerned about the spacing of the bats and the amount of vinyl that that's going to use, or cardstock or whatever material you want to cut it on, you can do the same process with contour and contour each bat to be its own image. So you could take those 3 bats, duplicate it, contour out 2 of them, and then take another duplicate, contour out 2 different. So basically, when you're done, you would have 3 separate of the 3 bats. Absolutely, you could do that, and then place them on your design at the end as you please. Yes, great thinking. All right, so we've flattened it to make a single multicolored image that becomes a print and cut. We are looking at doing another class on the topic of print and cut, so I'm not going to go any deeper from the flatten. So now I'm going to unflatten. They are still set as a print and cut. Up here at the top, I can switch it where it's a line through the cut and a color here. Switch it to just a cut. So I just did the drop down and pressed cut. It brought it back to just being a cut for that Happy Halloween. Again, I can make it orange. Just like that. The bats are also still set as a print and cut, so I'm going to select cut. They're already set to black. Alright, so we're back to where we were. The other option was I could have hit undo. After I'd flattened, instead of unflattening, I could have hit undo. Undo is on the upper left. Alright, what else do we have at the bottom here? We have Weld. I'm going to come back to Weld. Make a note of that. And let's do Slice. So for now, I'm going to hide these guys. And I'm going to bring that square back by clicking the eye. And what was the question about Slice?
Slicing the contour.
So just slice an image in general, right? Is that what we were asking, though?
It was, can you slice an image in half with contour? Can you use contour to take an image and cut it in half?
Do you have to flatten to print and cut? It depends on what you are working on. So there are images that you can just upload and they're already a single piece to print and cut. If it is just one item, if I was just doing the Happy Halloween by itself, I don't need to flatten into anything because it's one piece already. So that could be a print and cut by just putting a fill in. So no, you do not have to flatten to print and cut. Is vinyl better than print and cut? That is totally a personal preference. I think each one has its own use. Something that's like a photograph of a family member or a pet. So this is my cat on a print and cut. If I were to do this with just vinyl, it would look very pixelated, many colors, kind of look animated. Whereas this is the picture I took on my cell phone of my cat. So each one has their own use. We also have a layered shirt here. We're going to do classes on layered later. So where were we? There were some questions. Answered that. So is vinyl better? So again, use case dictates what's better. Slice out a part of an image. Oh, okay. So yeah, you could have. If you were using your contour and if you want to call removing one of those bats slicing out a bat, absolutely. It can, in that case, slice out a part of an image. I was thinking more slice of taking something, doing a cut and separating into two. We'll do that in a moment with slice here. All right, I think we're caught up. So let's go back to the square and make it smaller. And I'm going to bring in a second shape. Let's do a heart. So slice only works between two objects. And basically, once you put one on top of the other, you can select the two and slice over at the bottom right has the original heart that we put on, and it sliced that heart out of the square. So here's that slice coming out of the square, and then leaving the square with that heart out of it. So that leaves you a lot of options to do a lot of things. Now, there are other ways that I could cut a square without the heart. You can use Detach. We haven't talked about Detach yet. But, in fact, I'm going to mark that. So, Slice, again, has a lot of cool ways you can use it. I had done a shadow box with a dog bone that I then sliced the name of the dog out of. Let's see if I can find that dog bone. Oh, you know what? It's in a different instance. So let's say I have this. Oh, you know what? It's not even whole. So I have this frame. I can contour, take that center out of there so it actually fills it back in. I'm taking that line away is what I'm doing. So I have this. Get this guy out of the way. And I could put text over it. Putting it on there, let's make it another color for ease of use. Select, oops, select both. I selected one. Let me try that again. Select both and slice. So you can put words inside of those. Yes, you can upload an image and remove a piece of it using contour if you don't just erase it out during your upload process. That class from last week with the SVG shows how to do it during the upload, but if you wanted to bring it in whole, maybe you wanted to use a piece of it elsewhere, contour is going to be your answer to that. It also saves you on having to do multiple instances of the upload. If you have an image and you know you want to use this piece for this and that piece for that, you can just do it as one and use contour to pick your pieces rather than uploading more than once. Okay, so that is slice. I sometimes use slice if I want to just get rid of a portion. Yes, we haven't got to attach yet. Sorry, my husband is trying to help you guys and give you more information. It's just I haven't gotten there yet. All right, so I'm going to use slice again, actually. I want to show you. I'm going to bring in another square. Let's get rid of a bunch of what's in the way here. I'm just going to select it all and hit the X. Gone. All right, let me unlock this square. I'm actually going to turn it into a pretty thin line. I'm going to put that over top, and so maybe I just didn't like this top ruffle look. So I'm going to put that line over top. I like it on bottom, but for whatever reason, it's just not going to fit. Maybe the cup I'm going to put this on. You know, the cup is flat on top, but I had extra room at the bottom. Whatever the reason may be. So I have the line, and I have one image here because I've sliced out the hello. There's no separate part there. It's only two. I'm going to select the two, and I'm going to slice. And now I'm going to start moving the pieces away. And I've sliced finishing moving the pieces away. I sliced a line through that. Okay, so how do I get rid of it? Back to contour. And let's take that top part away. So I've had images where I've had little offshoot pieces that I didn't want. You couldn't contour them away because there was no line. I created my own line using slice and got rid of the top. Right. Get rid of all those extra lines. We don't need those. Let's see where we want to go from here. So let's go to attach. So let's hide him for now, just in case we want to use this hello again later. Let's bring back the Happy Halloween and the bats. And let's talk about attach. So attach is at the bottom of the right in the center. It's grayed out right now. You can attach two or more items, but let's talk about what attach does. So we know group. Group helps us on the screen move things around. Attach is when you're sending it to your mat for cutting. It keeps the objects you've attached oriented to each other. So the bats will stay exactly in these distance away from the Happy Halloween. That's as clear as I can state that. So obviously, you know, if Happy is orange and the bats are black, I need them on two separate mats. But if they were one design, I'm going to do it on a black, white shirt, so I can do them all in black. But there's still two parts here. So if I currently send this to make it, and they're not attached, I have the bats, I have the Happy Halloween, and Cricut does its best to use as little vinyl as possible, or cardstock or whatever material. Again, everything does not have to be cut on vinyl. So it rearranges it to use the least amount of space on your mat. But I know that sometimes I just wish it would stay together so that I could have it properly spaced, not have to mess with it when I'm working with it after it, I weed it and want to put it on something. I'd rather just stay together. I'm going to cancel, and I'm going to select both, and I'm going to attach. So attach, like group, puts them together on the canvas, right? But more importantly, when you click make it, it keeps their spacing exactly as it was for cutting. So let's hit cancel. And let me detach, so basically just undoing the attach. And let me get rid of Happy Halloween for a moment. I want to go back to an earlier question about space on this. So we click make it on this, and because it's one image, all this center would be weeded out. It could become scrap if you cut it out, but essentially we're wasting space. So if you're comfortable and you want those bats to just use as little of your material as possible, then you can make them separate images and hit cancel here, and Cricut Design Space will arrange them on the mat using less. So 3 bats, duplicate to 3, so we have 3 images, and we contour so that each one will only contain 1. So we've got, let's see, a bat and his eyes, a bat and his eyes. Close that contour. So now we have the top left guy. Let's go to the next one, contour. This time we've already got the top left, so let's get rid of him. Let's see if that's him. Yep, that was him, and now we gotta find his eyes. Boom, boom. Oh, I still have 2 left on that one, so let me contour again. This time we'll do the one on the right. There we go. So that was the one on the right, and then we just need that bottom one. The mouse does not, I've noticed this with contour, the mouse doesn't seem to line up right, so just have to kind of find it. Alright, so that was our guy from the bottom. I can bring my Happy Halloween back. Let's find it. Check. So I can bring my Happy Halloween back, but I now have, line them up as you please. Again, this is now, right now, because they're not attached, for our own appeal. Click make it, and it's going to rearrange the 4 parts to use as little of your material as possible. Somehow I don't know why that moved down there. You can also move them around your mat manually. That gives you that freedom. Where the other one went. It's weird. Oh, it went to the next mat. Sorry. Just gonna make it again. So that time it arranged them all using as little space as possible that it felt. But if you wanted it, if you wanted that Happy Halloween orange, so you're just doing your 3 bats, that's going to save you some space if you want to place them around yourself. So a lot of options. I mean, Cricut Design Space is really a lot of ways to do the same thing, I'll be honest. More than one way to use Design Space. Skin cat. What is the question? Attach the same as group? No. Or would cutting a group image still cut in a space-saving way? Yes. So group is only beneficial to the screen. So let's do that right now. Perfect timing. Let's select all. Let's group. Let's click make it. It's still going to be that space-saving technique. Cancel. And instead, let's take that group. You can attach a group. It doesn't matter if they're already grouped or not. Hit attach, and now make it. And it keeps the orientation of the pieces to each other. So great question, great timing on that. They're not the same. Group and attach are not the same. Group still moves the pieces around on your mat. That's the answer to that. Okay. So where are we at here? We've attached. We've contoured. I'm going to save Weld for something else. So we're done with the bottom right. So we've done the left side nav. We've done the right except for Weld. All right. Correct. So let's see here. We've talked early on about zooming your canvas at the bottom, just to remind you that is there. So you can zoom in, you can zoom out. Bottom left are your zoom options. Right, top. So lots of things at the top. Let's kind of start on the left and just work our way across. So there's actually a hidden button. The canvas. We have these grids on this canvas. You can actually lighten it to only have the 1-inch marks. Or if you're zoomed, it would actually be different intervals. But basically those bolder ones. Or you can get rid of your background canvas altogether. That hidden button is right between your two zeros. So if you see where my mouse is moving under the undo, click that, and my grid has changed. I only have now my 1-inch marks because that's how I'm zoomed. Click it again, your canvas grid is gone, and click it a third time and it comes back to how it was. So what is your benefit here? There could be a couple benefits. So if I was zoomed, let's see, way in, and there's just a lot of marks there that just seem to be in my way, you could do that. What I use it for is if I'm trying to maybe show somebody what I'm planning to make for them, I can use an upload I have of a shirt. Use that search. Oh, didn't find it. Let me try t-shirt. There it is. I've uploaded this image of this shirt a long time ago. But I bring it in. I can put a design on it. So I'll show you guys. It's out of order here because there's this arrange option up here, top middle. Send to back, move backward, move forward, send to front. I'm going to send this to front. I want this in the total front of this shirt. Send to front. Now it's on there. I can size it down to what I believe I'm going to cut this as to the shirt. And I can get rid of that grid, that was the point of this, and take a snippet screenshot to send to somebody. So that's where I use getting rid of the grid most frequently. Got that? All right, so let's get rid of the shirt. We put this on YouTube like the last one, absolutely. Too much info to absorb it otherwise. I totally understand. I am sorry, this is information overload. So yes, absolutely. This will be uploaded to YouTube. You can go through it, you can pause and play with your own design space at the same time. Yes. All right, so we talked about that hidden button between the zeros. So let's try to go across the top. So there's undo. I think undo is pretty self-explanatory. Right now it's just undoing how I moved that around and resized it. But there is undo. Get back to where we were. There is line type. So there's cut, draw, score, engrave, deboss, wave, perf. Now I have a Cricut Maker, so I have, like the wave and the perf, cutting tools. You may not if you're using the Explorer 2. So it just depends what you have. And I have it set to the Maker at the top. Cut is your basic, going to cut your material. But draw is frequently used for words. So I don't know, some of you may have seen in Cricut Help Desk, I made some, let's go back to Canvas. I made some decal cards with words on them. So I typed my words and did draw. Let me see if there's a t-shirt card. So you type your words, you pick a font that's good with words, and draw. So let me see if I can. If I write Happy Halloween, bring it up because I know you can't see it. It's underneath the banner. Let's hide this guy. Oops, not him. Let's hide that. Bring in the Happy Halloween. I just typed Happy Halloween. If I switch that to a draw, it's going to draw those lines using one of your Cricut pens or markers. There are fonts that, maybe we'll just go into fonts at this point. There are fonts that work better or worse with draw. They're writing fonts. If I click my font drop down and I use my filter on the top right, I can do writing. I can also filter to my fonts. These are ones that I've got that I won't need to pay for. And you can pick a writing font. So you can see where that's going to write and not make it look like a hollow letter. So you can also cut those fonts. Oops, change it to a print. We need to make it a cut. You know what? Because it's a writing font, it may not allow it. It's also set to, oops, select it. It was also set to writing in style. There we go. I put it back to regular on style. And now I can make it a cut. Get a color. Doesn't matter what color. So you can change your font to a writing or a regular for cuts, writing at the bottom. It's just that some fonts work better with writing. So I do a whole class on fonts that talks about using the filters, talks about using systems. So I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but you click font to select your font from your list. Select that font again. So we had talked about briefly about style here. Regular, and bold. Go italics. Just like you are if you were writing a Word document. You can increase and decrease your font size using the menu. Typically with fonts, I just will drag them. Let's decrease it though so it's more on the screen. Okay. Letter spacing. Again, you can increase and decrease your letter spacing using this. This is frequently used with a lot of those script fonts when you want your letters to connect. So if I switch this to something a little more scripty, and I still have it set to a draw. Let me put it back on a cut. Not writing. All right, so I can use that letter spacing. Try to bring some of these together. I'm not going to worry about this one perfectly fitting together because, again, I have a font class that we're going to be doing. I did it once live. We unfortunately weren't able to record it, so I'm going to do the font class again. And when I do, we're going to really talk about how to connect all those parts. Yeah. Let me find, I'm sorry, I was just thinking about that Weld. It's probably a good time to introduce Weld. Find a font that's really going to benefit from Weld. Keep switching back to draw because I was so intent on showing you guys draw. Okay, this may be a good one to play with Weld. So let me make this larger. Now I'm going to make it anything but black. So it's blue. And I'm going to start bringing my letters together because I'm going to want to weld them. I want the A, P, P, Y to connect. You know what? The H can connect too. Bring them together. That H is starting to go on that A. The P's are starting to touch. Let's go a little further. All right. All right, that's good. So I brought those together. It is one piece, so it will save space on your canvas, but it sees each letter as its own part. So when I go to cut it, it's going to cut out a little bit into this A as part of the H. and it's going to do it on the P's and the Y where I want them to connect. That is your weld function down in the lower right. That weld, and that A was too close to itself, so we'll address that in a second. But now you can see where that H kind of floods in, and the A to the P, they flood to each other because they are welded. They are one piece. You won't get cuts between your letters. There is no unweld. You'd have to hit undo. And you guys saw that that A filled in. That's a common issue with weld, some of the smaller pieces. And the way to get around it is make it much larger, weld, and then you can go ahead and size it back down. But while it was larger, you can see how that H and where they connect are flooding into each other, and there won't be cut lines in the middle of your word. That's the purpose of weld. You can weld shapes together. So if you wanted to make a snowman, I bring in 3 circles. 1, 2, 3. Let's get this happy out of the way. 1, 2, 3. Cute little snowman. When I send this to cut, it's going to cut a line just like you see on the screen. And if I change colors, it'll actually show that even better. It's going to cut those lines right now. I want my snowman to be one whole piece. I select the 3 of them and I click weld. You can see it's now one whole piece. There are no longer 3 circles there. All right, so we did now do weld at the bottom. Let's go back and continue talking about the fonts that we were talking about. So let me put some text in here. Let me do 2 lines. Hello world. Not world, world. So we've talked about letter spacing. There's line spacing as well, and it's just what you think it would. It's the space between the 2 lines that I typed, the hello and the world. I could create them as 2 separate text boxes. It's just another option. Again, more than one way to do things in here. The alignment is really exactly as you would think. So you can center, you can right, left. There's no justify in here. This actually came up in conversation in the Cricut help desk yesterday. There is no justify. What you could do is create 2 separate parts. So type my hello, do another one, type world, and just make them the same, unlock, make them the same width as each other. It's essentially what justify does. I'll show you a little. I'm going to leave those on the screen. I'm going to show you more of that in a moment. Let's just finish going through our font submenu, which is down here. So there's a curve. Curve would need to be a single line. So let's make hello world 1 line. Now I have the curve option. It's just taking a moment to show up. There it is. So you can see you can curve around an image or around, however you want that to look. We have curve. And then there is advanced ungroup letters. It is the same thing as clicking ungroup from the right in the layers. It makes the letters, they're each individual pieces instead of one whole image. Okay. So that is your submenu for font. Let's get rid of most of this. All right. Let's keep working with this. All right, we talked about cut. We switched it to draw. Fill is for print and cut. So if I switch it to a print, it's now switched over on the right to print and cut. That would send it to your printer to print the word hello on whatever material you put through there, and then it would cut it out. So it'd be kind of silly to do it in the context of the word hello, but that is what print does. That switches you to your print and cut, and come back to make it just a cut by selecting cut, and it comes back over there. So wherever that red line is slashed through, that's the one not active. There's a select all that selects everything on your screen. Doesn't select anything that is hidden with the eyeball, but it selects everything on the screen. You can cut and copy. You could do, copy is the same thing with the duplicate. You can select all your pieces this way as well. It's the same as that select and all, and then there's deselect when it's selected. Align. Align is one of my favorite things. So I have these as two separate, and let's say for whatever reason, I really wanted world much wider than hello, for whatever reason. Or let's say I also have some image I've uploaded into the center of it, or a shape. Let's put a heart in the middle. I'm gonna grab all of them and move them up a little bit. All right. So hello world, there's a heart. If I select all three of these, align, and you can see where the line is going in each one of these. That's where it's going to align. So to make these centered vertically, so I think of vertically, it's going to really adjust them horizontally to the same vertical center. They're now perfectly centered that way. But because I had moved that heart around, it's closer to the hello than it is the world. If I select all again and go to that align menu, you have your align options, but you also have your distribute. This will evenly distribute whichever direction you see these going. So I need that heart to be evenly distributed. It goes from your highest point to your lowest point and distributes everything between. Now, while that looks like it's not distributed, it's because the hello and the top of the world, so the W in world, if I just move that over so you can see kind of the point of the heart to the bottom of the low, it is, whoa, it went way too far. I don't know if you saw it when it passed by there, or from the L, it is actually distributed that way. So let's talk about lots of fun purposes for aligning. Somebody asked about making a grid. How do you make a grid in Design Space? Take a square, and yes, I know we're absolutely at information overload. I'm going to make a line with my square, and I'm going to duplicate it several times. And I'm going to say I know that I need my grid to be from the top to the bottom. Let's select them, align, do that. Now distribute. Now let's grab just one of the lines. So we've got our horizontal lines for our grid. We're going to make the vertical, and just as soon as it lets me click it. I'm going to duplicate, and I'm going to rotate, so up here. I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. I'm going to type 90 and hit enter. I did not want to create another shape because I just wanted the ease of making it the exact same width. I didn't want to have to play with the sizing. But it's much longer than I would need it. So let's say, I'm going to be completing my grid this way, much longer. On the size here, I'm going to unlock, and I'm just going to adjust my height, hitting the down arrow. Now let's bring that in. See, it's still too long, so let's continue to adjust the height. And let's say, okay, a little too short now, so let's make it a little bigger. It's kind of that game there. I could have measured the distance between the top and bottom, and I actually put it on there quite nicely, but it wasn't totally necessary because I can select all of those and use my align, and I can align them to that right side. So now they are perfectly on there. And I can duplicate that. Let's get a few of those. And let's say I want to have there. So again, more than one way to skin a cat, whatever order makes you most comfortable. Let me grab the horizontal ones. Let me group those, and I'm going to temporarily hide them. Now I have my vertical lines. I can top align them. I can evenly distribute them. I can group them. And now let's unhide our group of horizontal lines. Let's select both together. Let's center align all of it. And it looks like from my horizontal line group, ungroup, because it looks like just a hair off here. That was because I didn't measure the length. So I'm going to arrow in, bring that guy in, and then reselect all my horizontal ones. 3 and 4. And let's distribute them again, because I had to move one. Group it. And now select all to center up with the horizontal. That was great. And we have a grid. But what we know is group is only for the screen. It doesn't go to the mat that way. So if I click make it, my lines are going to be everywhere. Look at it, saving all that space for me. How nice of it. I can build a grid with all these lines it's going to cut. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and sacrifice the space. I'm going to select it all, and I'm going to attach. Oops. That'll keep it all in one place. So if I click make it, it has kept my grid intact, but I attached lines. So there's still cut lines through each piece. Let's hit cancel one more time. And really, ideally, I want to weld this. I brought it down to one welded piece, and when I go to cut it, they will just cut out the centers of each part of that grid and not through my lines of the grid. So that is really how you can make a grid in here, very nice and easily, by playing with the align. Now, align's not lit right now because I have one image. It can't align one image to itself. So throw a few shapes in here. Another shape. Let's see. Let's bring this guy back into play. So all kinds of ways I could align these. I can line them on the center that way. You can bottom align. You can evenly distribute. So lots of, and it looks like, okay, those two are touching, but that's because the triangle sticks out here. So they are centered. Another square instead. Be easier to see. Top align, distribute. So play with that align. It really helps your design, especially if you're going to use Detach or Weld. Very beneficial there. All right, almost done. A few more options. There is flip. So let's see, what is a good example for flip? Let's bring a heart. You can flip it vertically. You could do the same thing with rotate. In fact, it adjusts it there to 180. That is the same thing. So if I put it back to 0, it takes it back to where it was. If you have heart this way for whatever reason, and you flipped it on the horizontal, does that for you. You could have a heart here, duplicate it, put a heart here, flip horizontal. Why do I bother moving it? I can just use my align. Align them there, put some words in the middle, or a little picture of a little stick figure, whatever it may be. So you have your flip. All right, we're going to talk about, let's talk about rotate, and then we'll come back to size, and then I think we're going to call it a class. Yeah, just checking my notes. So rotate, we've kind of already talked about it. You know, actually it's at 90.8 because I did this by hand. So really, if I wanted to make sure it was exactly, I would just type 90, click enter. Do the same with this guy, 270, or I could have just do what I did the first time, which was duplicate and flip. So rotate really just does the same thing as this, but it assigns the number to it. So now it's 17.29, whatever it may be. All right, size. Let's talk about size. Then we'll just kind of wrap up talking about what else we have coming down the pipe. All right. So early on, we talked about stretching. We talked about unlocking. All of those changes adjust these size numbers up here. So if you knew you needed your heart to be, let's relock it. So that lock is the same as the top little lock up here. Unlock, lock, unlock, lock. You knew you need this heart to be exactly 5 inches wide. You just type a 5 and hit enter. But while you need it exactly 5 wide, you really only need it 4 high. You have to unlock to change that to 4 without the 5 changing. It's really that simple. You can relock then if you want to keep that ratio but do something else with it. Not much more to say about that. Alright guys, that was it for class today. Thank you, I hope you enjoyed it. Please like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and I wish you all the best. Thanks, bye!